Good evening, everyone. My name is Orleen Kurla, and I'm the CEO for Eagle Forum of California. And tonight we have a wonderful woman who is running for Superintendent of Public Instruction for California. This is Sonia Shah, and she is presently serving on a school board in what is the name of the
Chino
district?
Valley.
Chino Valley. And so she really understands what school boards are like and what is going on, the administration of education. We would be delighted if we could have a wonderful Christian conservative superintendent of public instruction. So we are definitely hoping that we're going to get lots of people joining with us tonight and who can help spread the word about her. Since the motto of Eagle Farm is God, family, and country, we like to start with a prayer. And the person I asked to say the prayer is not with us yet, so I will go ahead and say that. Our Heavenly Father, we're very grateful for this evening. We're grateful for Sonia being able to be with us. We're grateful for those who are on this call already and those who will yet be joining us. Please bless her with all the words that she would like to tell us and help us to be mindful of these great truths that we will be receiving. Help us to be able to make a difference here in California, that we can turn the tide and help our students get a truly great education like they used to could in this great state. Please be with teachers and administrators. Help them to be inspired to do and say the right things and not be led by wokeism and political correctness. And we ask for thy blessings to be with us during this Zoom meeting. And we ask this in the name of thy Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Okay, did you need to share the screen with us? I forgot to ask you that.
No, I didn't bring anything. I wasn't sure. So
Okay, that's just great. Well, we will just, before we give you the floor, I just wanted to thank those who were able to be with us last Saturday. We had our 25th annual Eagle Forum Constitution Day celebration here in Sonoma County in Santa Rosa. And we had a wonderful day with three outstanding speakers, a trivia contest about the Constitution, and a play that we had some incredible people starring in this little play. It let us know kind of like what life would be like in our country if we no longer had our Constitution. Really let people understand how valuable this great Constitution is and how we should regard it and have much more re respect for it and try to live by it. So I
mhm.
wanted to thank those who are on this call tonight who were with us last Saturday. And we will now turn the time over to Sonia Shah.
Okay. Well, it's a pleasure to be here with you all. Thank you for all that you guys do. Would you like me to start just telling you a little bit about me? I don't know if we have new faces
Yes,
here.
please.
Okay, so I was born and raised here in Chino, and this is, I kind of moved away for a couple years of my adulthood, but then moved back here. And my husband and I have raised our two amazing daughters here. I have one daughter in junior high. I'm not junior high. She's a junior in high school. Sorry, long day. And then another daughter who will be 18 soon, and she's at our local community college. She's playing soccer and she wants to be a firefighter. Um,
Wow.
yeah, I prior to like the COVID shutdown time, I owned a small, very small, just me and another owner, fitness place. I would train women on health and fitness. I would wake up at 3 a.m. I subleased out of a batting cage. We would set up and then I would be home by 7:30 to take my kiddos to school and be there full time. As a mother, growing up, I always wanted to be a full-time mom, so it was very important. And in California, it's kind of hard. You need two incomes, unfortunately, in a lot of circumstances, especially with the cost of living. And let me see, my dad still lives with me. I take care of my father. He was actually a Christian from Jerusalem. He came here in his early 20s. He joined the military. Christians over there are still being slaughtered. I'm sure you guys are very aware of that. And he joined the Marines over here. He ended up meeting my mom eventually, and then Long story short, it was just kind of a clash of two different people, two different cultures. And then my mom ended up leaving my dad in the middle of the night. We were put in with her with women's shelter to women's shelter. Eventually, that led to her meeting somebody. She got involved into heroin and drugs, and one of my sisters swallowed drugs. We were put into foster care for a little bit until I reached out to my father, who I knew the local business that him and his family had owned. And eventually he got us. And my mom unfortunately passed away soon after. She was going through a lot of court stuff and trying to get on track, but she was pretty hooked on drugs. I pretty much say I've raised my siblings since I was 7. I still am raising my siblings. Um, but with that, during the shutdown is when I kind of got involved more into the political world. I never realized, we had a moral obligation to get involved in politics before. It was more like my dad, especially coming from another country, I've seen it more and more with people who are just grateful to be here. They say, keep your, your face straight. You don't say anything. You don't raise your voice, you don't go against the grain type thing. But then when everything shut down, I eventually shut down my business because we couldn't run it when it was a lockdown. And then I eventually, when school was supposed to be returning for kids, we were met with Newsom's mandates of, masks and possible vaccines and all these things that were happening to the school system. And that's when I pulled my kids from the public school that, they grew up in, and I put them in a local charter school that was staying open, defying Newsom's orders. And while that was happening, I always wanted to bring my girls back because they are athletes. And eventually, when they were to get into high school, they wanted to play high school sports like most athletes. So a bunch of us parents started connecting online. And that's when I became the president of a grassroots parents organization. And we started fighting back and, demanding that they open up the schools. Again, my kids were safe. They were in person with other kids. I would drive 45 minutes, there and back every day. Each way was 45 minutes, but my kids weren't experiencing all the horrible things that other kids were experiencing. And then eventually, we started going to our central committees here locally. I started realizing what the Republican and the Democrat Party were. And the Republican Party were giving us crazy parents that were mad at, Newsom and the rest of the things that were happening with our kids. They gave us a voice. I eventually became an alternate at our central committee. And then an election was coming up because we all attended a school board. Somebody one day had said, you need to attend a school board. You need to tell them XYZ. So I remember we all, like all of us moms, and we always joke because there was one dad in our group. We attended our first school board meeting together, and we quickly realized that the majority of our school board members did not want to give parents a seat at the table. Um, they didn't even have kids. We pulled their funding papers because we learned how to follow all that. And they were funded by Biden's admin, Soros money. I mean, you name it, just for school boards. So we realized there was a bigger agenda after our children that they were putting into local because they know most parents like myself, weren't paying attention to politics, even though we should have been. So quickly found out local is where they were starting to take over. They would plant the people here and then move them up eventually, into state seats and Congress seats. So we had an election coming up, and we decided we were going to run somebody who was a soon to be retired police officer in our area. Police are still loved in our area. We come from a very, I would say our area is pretty conservative, but they unfortunately put us with LA County just to mess up with our lines and our seats, which you guys all know with Prop 50. They do that, local, and they do that at a bigger level. Nothing new. So those 2 seats were coming up, and I remember meeting the person who I became the alternate to at a State of the City event, and she was asking me, what candidates do you have so we can support them and help you guys? And I remember being so excited, telling her, because we had 2 board members that were already good, and it was a 5-member board. And I remember telling her, oh, we have one. And she quickly burst in my bubble by telling me, oh, no, you can't do it that way. You need one for each seat that are coming up. And so I see James is on this thing, so he's heard me say this before. But I went home to the Zoom with all the moms and the one dad, and I literally told all of them. One of our moms was learning how to do the maps because we were turning into trustee areas. And I told the other mom who learned how to do the maps, I said, get out the maps, Kelly. And one of you is going to run, and we're going to get behind you, and you have no choice. Because sometimes you need a little friendly push and bullying, to your friends to save kids. And eventually we got down the list and come to find out my house was on the trustee area line. So you can only imagine all the moms and the one dad screamed Sonia Shaw 2026. And I was like, oh no, I'm the candidate. Long story short, my husband is a man of faith. And I came up and I told him I needed to talk to him. He was already sleeping. And eventually he said, what was it? And I said, we need to run for school board. Is that okay? And he said, we don't live in the area. And I said, babe, our house, our backyard is literally on the line. And he just said, well, then it's God's plan, kissed me goodnight. We ran both of our seats. We had moms, one mom become the campaign manager for the other candidate. I had teachers come alongside me, grandmas, grandpas, moms, dads. You can imagine I had so many volunteers that one of our teachers was so amazing at organizing everybody and telling everybody where they needed to be, what days, how many hours. And we walked months upon months, hours upon hours, and we knocked and hit every single door except the ones that said you can't, no soliciting. And that election cycle in 2022, we won both seats and we flipped our board majority.
Wow, it's
Yeah,
fantastic.
it was great. I got in. School board members are to write policy. Now, mind you, being the mom who was, challenging and finding how these bills are being pushed through and going to Sacramento and testifying against bad bills like the bill that you guys may or may not known back in 2022 or 2023, a bill was going through to put tampons in the boys' restroom, stuff that you can't
Yes,
even
I
imagine.
remember that.
So when I saw a bill come through when I first became a board member, I think it was only maybe 2 months sitting in my seat. The two board members that I told you that were great, they did appoint with the new board member me as the president that first year coming in. I remember them a bill coming through, and it was a bill by, do you guys know a previous Assemblyman Bill Aselli? He's now appointed by Trump for the LA District Attorney General. He's working with, the Trump, the feds. And he had brought a bill, and it simply said that parents would be notified if a child were to identify as the opposite sex. I try to tell people don't use the word gender. That's a religious term for them. We want to deprogram ourselves from using those things. Unfortunately, they're in documents, legal documents everywhere, but it was simply that a child if they were to want to identify as the opposite sex, because California law says that they can, and schools have to accept it and let them into the opposite sex's restrooms and sports teams and all the junk that goes with that. That it was a simple bill that just said we would notify the parents because there is a secret agenda that they do these things behind the parents' back. And I said, I'm bringing a resolution forward and we're going to support this bill. We had a board meeting to pass it, and Bill Aselli came to Assemblyman Bill Aselli popped up in front of us at our board meeting. We're in San Bernardino County. He was in Riverside County. But he did hear about our school board wanting to pass a resolution. So he showed up because not very many school boards were doing that. And he said, I had good news, bad news. He said, bad news is they wouldn't give it a hearing because all of you know
Oh,
it's democracy, but only if you agree with him, right? And
that's
he
right.
said, the good news is, and he's an attorney, by the way, he said you can make your own policy. So when he said that, I was excited because school board members, we pass and make policy. And usually, generally speaking, school boards will just they will blindly follow the California School Board Association and adopt all of their policies. And the California School Board Association literally works with the state superintendent and Newsom and the unions, right? So all special interest groups. They really do not do anything good, I'll be honest with you. I've been challenging them for the last 3.5 years and being a thorn in their side because we are members. But with that said, a mindful coalition was formed. And I'm talking leaders of, Moms for Liberty or even Republican groups, church groups, leaders of people all over California that wanted to, and attorneys. Aaron Friday, a few of them were in there. And we worked on a policy. all while I was being told by my superintendent of our school district that Mrs. Shaw, you can't bring this policy forward because I told him I was going to bring it forward soon. And he said it's illegal. And I said, okay, that's fine. Show me the law of you breaking. And so he had attorneys write me pages upon pages because they were all advising him. In all fairness, they were advising him that it was illegal. And then they had the insurance company, which is the JPA, write pages upon pages on how this policy was going to be illegal. But in all those pages, me just being a mom with common sense, pointed out to him, look, all these people are getting paid. They're writing us pages. They're telling us how it's going to be illegal and why it's going to be illegal, but they never cite a law that we would be breaking. So long story short, he had a light bulb moment go off in his head. And he said, you know what, Mrs. Shaw, you are right. They've been lying to us. And I said, ding, 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 we're bringing it forward. We brought that policy forward for a board meeting, and that's when Newsom caught wind of it, and he sent down the state superintendent, the current one, Tony Thurmond, to our meeting. If you have not seen that meeting, I just encourage you to go into Google and type Tony Thurmond and Sonia Shaw, and you will see a very, what people would call a heated moment, but I didn't think it was a heated moment. I just thought it was a moment of truth. Um, he came to our meeting. He tried to grandstand our meeting and take over. And mind you, I've been in Sacramento. If they give you 30 seconds to testify, they cut your mic at 30 seconds. So when his minute was up, he went back to his seat, and I told him exactly what people like him need to hear, which was pretty much in summary, Tony Thurmond, we thank you for being here. Mind you, Tony Thurmond did come down and walk with my opponent to a local school board race because he said we cannot let the soccer mom get on the board because it would be, horrible. So there was some history with us and Tony. But long story short, I told him, Tony, thanks for coming, but it's because of people like you in Sacramento perverting. We're not going to do that here in Chino, and pretty much have a seat. He tried to approach the podium back. I told him, have a seat. He wouldn't. Eventually, he ended up leaving. The room erupted. I had to call a 5-minute break because we did have Antifa in the room and some pretty crazy people in our board meeting.
Wow.
That's when God took that moment, and it literally went around the nation. I'm not even joking. I had people reach out to me from this part of the ocean to the other part of the ocean. I had no clue what God was doing with that moment, but he did bring a lot of awareness what was going on the hidden agenda that was attacking our children. With that said, 5 weeks later, we were sued by Newsom, Bonta, and the state superintendent, California Department of Ed, just for wanting to inform parents. Nothing else. Remember, it was just to notify the parents. So that was crazy, but God always provides if he's going to take you to something. And very quickly, my inbox filled up with offers from big attorney firms all throughout the United States asking to take our case. Our superintendent and I sat down. We ended up picking Liberty Justice, who had won a Supreme Court case in regards to teachers' unions and not forcing them to be going into the union. I don't know if you guys heard the Janus case. They won that Supreme Court case that allowed teachers to opt out of their union. They were one of the ones that
That's right.
offered us, they were offering us at no cost to us coverage. And, a district can't afford a big lawsuit when our attorney general, instead of fixing the lawlessness on the streets, was sending 9 attorneys down to our little school district over here, harassing us daily. So we did secure Liberty Justice, and we fought the good fight in court. I did hear from a judge who I grew up thinking judges are honorable. Unfortunately, in California, the ones that we have appointed are not always honorable because they're appointed by wicked people like Newsom and the rest of them that have been, on the same agenda like him. And I got to hear a judge, instead of talking about the legality of our policy, talk about Tony Thurmond, the man's feelings, and how I hurt his feelings and I should have never treated the state superintendent that way, and blah, 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 blah. Long story short, long court process. We switched some wordings of our policy that they put an injunction on. Mind you, again, just telling parents if their kid wants to identify as another sex, nothing crazy. And so since we did have the injunction, I was listening to what the judges were saying. So was our attorneys. We brought a notification policy forward with some little word switches, and we never stopped informing the parents, even when we had a permanent injunction on the original policy, because the current policy allows us to tell parents unofficial or official record changes, which includes a child wanting to change their sex in school. Um, so with that, in the court, we did win something huge. Tony Thurmond, Newsom, Bonta, they all got on press conferences saying that children have a right to privacy even from their parents. Well, even in California court, that was determined false. So we did have a huge win even in California court because we refused to give in. Since then, we were one of the first districts to pass the flag policy that many districts are still using till this day to get any flag except the US flag, military flags, California flags out of the classroom because we know that ideological flags have been pushed into these classrooms with the agenda that's being pushed. We were one of the first districts to strengthen our getting sexual explicit books out of the classrooms, in which we share those with other districts to also pass. Parent notifications already passed. By then, we have other policies, even we had, notification on anything that was taught of the ideology of the LGBTQ plus thing. We had stuff that was already done before the Marmoot and Taylor, case that you saw in the Supreme Court. We kind of have always just focused on education since we switched our board. We do have pretty good district, like I said, and parents that support us. So last year they could have switched 3 seats. We had 3 seats up. I had recall efforts put on me. They weren't legal, by the way. They're still under FPPC investigations, even after well over a year. Now, mind you, if I did something bad, I would get fined in 24 hours, right? So if you look it up, they're still investigating these people who collected money without pulling out a committee on the recall for me. But with that said, all 3 seats that were up, we took all 3 seats with members that still protect the community. We didn't let them switch it because the community came to the polls, and we now currently hold a 5-0 at our school board of members who
Wow,
protect children. So we have
fantastic.
we had one member recently move out to Utah to go be with his family, the one that got elected when I did, but we just appointed another member, and we were in some pretty crazy board meetings with, you can imagine, because they didn't want us to appoint somebody else that would protect children. But we just appointed another member who is on the same mission as us to provide a great education free from all the ideologies being pushed in the classroom. So with that said, I think I told you pretty much most of everything in a nutshell. There's obviously more with especially the special interests, the legislated teachings and trainings that go into the classroom. I recently, a few months ago, found out in July 2025, a law went into effect, and it's to push LGBTQ plus, and it's legislated to push it into training the teachers, and it's required by law to train the teachers with XYZ. Well, I did a PR request to the California Department of Ed. They gave me a password protected link to go into because there's so many documents, and it shows millions of dollars funded for this training to push things into the classroom that have nothing to do with helping our kids reading, writing, math, and giving them tools for success and pathways to be successful adults eventually after high school. It's just amazing how much money and how much power these special interest groups not only take but put into the classrooms to really just harm our kids and take away their future, right? Because if you create in their minds very young a generation that is growing to hate America, they're confused about what they are, and they are told their parents are pretty bad, and to trust adults other than their parents. You control the future. I've seen that at a state level, and I've seen that at a national level when I travel to speak to other groups and for other organizations. And to be honest with you, I've had people from other countries come out and do documentaries on our story, which goes to show me that it's not just obviously in the United States, it's being pushed throughout the world, right? And unfortunately, but fortunately for us, I believe a lot of stuff starts in California. So with more and more people joining the fight, we will bring more exposure, but we'll also stop and hold the floodgates of what was coming in. And prayfully, God willing, we will bring more pathways to kids to have success.
Well, that's an amazing story. I am really impressed.
Let me see.
I
How
know
long
that
did you tell me till 8? We finished at 7:31, but I will take questions. Maybe we could talk about other things that will open into other things.
I know in Orange County they've had amazing success with getting school board members so
Yes.
that they also had a majority. And I am just so impressed where I live in Sonoma County. We don't have well, we do have one single conservative school board member in one of the districts, but
What was the
the
name of that one?
rest, uh, it's the Rincon Valley School District.
Do you know the
And
school board member's name or no?
it's
I wonder if I know.
last name is her last name is it's Shelby Muller.
Okay. No, I don't know.
And
We're trying
she
to link arms with most school, like just like our parents groups years ago when all the shutdowns happened, we linked arms with other parent groups all throughout California. Throughout the last 3.5 years, we've been trying to get more school board members elected, but also link arms with the ones that actually are on the same mission of providing great education. So we become a bigger force because they do pick and bully. And if you don't have support, there's no way any of us will survive it. But I do believe God brings us together to be able to, be a force to reckon with when it comes to
That's
protecting.
very true. So what was the name of the parent group that you were first part of?
So we were called the Parent Association of Chino Valley. We were one of the first advocacy groups of the leg. It was a sister of the organization that ended up suing California to get the kids back into um, the schools and the classrooms years ago. So we became their first advocacy group, and then we just started linking arms with just other grassroots organizations. Eventually, throughout California, it could have been anything. Um, a lot of Moms for Liberties and Moms for Americas too, but a lot of different organizations that were just local, just parents coming together and fighting the good fight. So yeah, we would look for national organizations so we can get support and training. So that's why, leadership, heritage, parents defending ed, all these organizations that you have seen them demonize, right? Those are the ones that we would always reach out to because we'd be like, oh, okay, if they're making them look bad, it's for a good reason. We need to go reach out to them. And then, a lot of them would provide us free training or free workshops to get together and link arms. And, a lot of what's coming again in California is not unique to here, it's everywhere because I go again, it's the unions that really control what's happening and the agenda putting into the classrooms. And the local unions branch out into the national unions, right? And you see it. I mean, the teachers' unions, this is, I would say, by far the most powerful union when it comes to political, being in the political realm. And they have tons of money, and you see them involved in everything wicked that we all fight against.
It is unbelievable. What
Yeah.
was nice as a substitute teacher, I did not have to join any union,
Yeah.
and I was kind of a very free spirit and could do my own thing. But I know these unions are very powerful and have such control over the teachers. That's why it was really nice that that bill was passed that teachers could put their
Yep.
money someplace else and be not in the union.
Yep. Yes, yes. And I met that was the Janice case, and Rebecca Friedrich is the one that kind of started that case, and then eventually Janice ended up taking it over. And I was at an event recently in the summer in DC, and the Teachers Freedom Alliance, and they help teachers get out of the union too and give them alternates to making sure that they actually, even during that event, they gave all the teachers free, what is it called, like insurance coverage, right? So just in case something were to happen, they would have that as long as the teachers were exiting their union. But I met Janice, and what a great, great man to sit in there and continue to fight the good fight. And his attorney was our attorney, Liberty Justice. So I felt like, wow, God just brought that full circle moment there. So it was really cool to hear and see and meet him actually in person. And Rebecca Friedrichs is amazing. I don't know if you guys ever go onto her website. She shows teachers and she's very passionate on helping teachers get out of their unions and give them alternate means to protection as well.
I have heard her speak. She is wonderful. We
Yeah.
have a question from Peter Kaiser. Hi,
Okay.
Peter.
Oh, hi, how's it going? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so I was able to have my union. I never joined the substitute union, although I went to founding meetings and I said it should be free and it should represent us, and they didn't do that. So I had my dues that they were taking out sent to my my daughter's church, which they were sending her overseas. So, and I checked each year to see if the money was going there. So this was wonderful until they actually said you didn't have to pay the dues. So there were some ways earlier that we could use the
Oh,
system
cool.
to honor the Lord. And I also try to say, as a substitute, I've been there for almost 30 years. I try to give the history of the life of St. Patrick without saying his name, and they celebrate it every year regularly. They don't even know his biography. They couldn't tell me who I was talking to when I gave a 10-minute biography, and he's one of the best early missionaries. So you can sneak some stuff in like Orleans does. So thank you so much for what you're doing,
Oh,
and I wish you well very much. I'm on committees and try to do what we can here locally, and I'm a Gideon, and I try to get Bibles to the homeless and prayer and so forth. So God bless you.
well, thank you too for all that you do. I really believe God calls each of us with our own gifts to each part of where we're supposed to serve. So thank you. And yeah, no, that's amazing to hear for sure. 100%.
Well, I also have a question about this recent terrible bill that was passed,
Oh
AB
yeah.
495,
New.
and I guess it's on the governor's desk. Do we know if he's signed it yet?
He hasn't signed it, but what I understand is if they're not in session, he can wait 30 days and it just automatically goes into law. And he might just do that because he's a coward, so he won't outwardly put his name on it, but he'll let it slide in. So I think that's probably what he's going to do, but I wouldn't put it past him. Remember AB 1955? So AB 1955 was so they didn't we brought the policy forward to not keep secrets from parents. Then Newsom and them brought as a direct response, they tried to scare districts to not adopt the same policy that we currently have that was, held up in court for the notification. It was 1955. Well, just to give you an idea, I know I don't really have to explain to you how slimy Newsom is, but when President Trump was shot at last year, that's when Newsom signed AB 1955. So sometimes he does it in times where he knows people aren't paying attention, or in this case, because legislation is not in session until next year, he can just let the 30 days ride and let it slide in that way. So there is a big chance I think he might do that given the temperature of what's going on and Prop 50 going on, and he wants to put the attention on Prop 50. So I don't know. I have a feeling he's going to do that, but that does not mean we give up calling. I mean, just on Friday, I called his office again, right? And we continue to call and be relentless at calling. So we never ever give them the chance to say they didn't hear from us, right? So
Right.
I would just encourage people to still call. Now, I will tell you, unfortunately, not all districts will do this, but our district will not follow that. There's no way in the world, even our own superintendent will not put kids in harm that way, right? Even though when you pass into law. But I think there is a part that allows districts to continue to do their good faith. It's just a matter of most districts are ran by a majority of board that do not do great things. So like districts like ours and a few others like Temecula, Marietta, Redlands that have majorities, some in Northern Cal, some of those districts might do some policy changes to ensure that there's safeguards in place. But unfortunately, in the districts that a lot of this I would call state sanctioned kidnapping happens, those school board members wouldn't never pass the policy on their own to put those protections in place. And that's the unfortunate part because I personally, after watching things for the last 5.5 years, do not think this has anything to do with immigration. I mean, you can mark my words. Immigration, there's already things in place when it comes to if a parent, is on, deported or whatever may have happened to the parent. There's already safeguards in place. We already have emergency contacts that, us as parents, we can go in and I can go in right now and change my emergency contacts, which allow those people that I identified as a parent to go take, control of my children if in the event that something were to happen, God forbid. And there's also affidavits I can sign right now that would allow whoever that is, say if it's my sister or whoever, I may say if something were to happen to me, I can sign that affidavit and my sister would be able to take my kids to the doctors, take them out of school, whatever. I personally think following what they're doing in community schools, if you guys haven't heard about community schools and the dangers of that, they want to take care of the whole child. They're passing legislation. They're already setting up the gateways for grants going into community schools. Community schools, Newsom and his whatever he wants to call her, his wife, but he calls her whatever, first partner. I always say first partner in destruction. They've already visited schools that have taken these grants, and they have clinics on campuses, things that are, things that you would never want to see in your kids' schools. They have them. So personally, I think these are bills that are being passed. They use the current events to kind of just swipe it through and tug at people's hearts. Oh, they're helping people. They're helping people with immigration. It has nothing to do with that. Again, I'll go back to they're passing this law. They know there's loopholes, and it's because of tied into bigger things, especially when it comes to the gender stuff, because they do take the kids. There's already laws passed that says if you don't affirm your child, you can have your kids taken away. You already seen people like Harmeet Dillon in the past. And now she's working for Trump, but you've already seen her take cases, that have taken these children away from their parents if they don't affirm these things. And I just think that they're working on a bigger agenda, right? And they just feed breadcrumbs to the public. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I just follow the laws. I follow the policies they pass, and it's for something bigger than what we're dealing with currently. They just use the current events to really push that through, unfortunately.
Well, for those who have never really totally understood AB 495, could you just give a brief description of what it would do if it's passed and
So
signed into law?
it pretty much allows anybody to take a paper, doesn't have to be notarized, take it to the school and be able to take that child with them. And that is the most horrific thing I've ever seen, first of all. But again, there has to be a bigger thing for that, because I'll go back again, we as parents already identify in case of an emergency who's allowed to take our kids, right? It's not just one person. It usually makes you put 3 or 4 emergency contacts, because they are supposed to go down the list. If you can't get a hold of the next person, you call the next person and the next person until you get to the person that can take the child. But yeah, 495 allows anybody in a mentor even ship. What does mentorship mean? I mean, we've seen what mentors have done in children's lives in the California public school system already, right? So again, these are people that have told their parents, tell kids that their parents are bad. I mean, it could be anybody who has a relationship with the kid in any way. And it could be a stranger off the street if you're not careful, because all they have to do is bring that paper. And you really think criminals are going to do things with ethical reasons behind it? No. And they just take it to the school and they're able to take the child with them. So it's very dangerous. But again, I can wholeheartedly say that if we start electing people that actually care about kids, we won't have to deal with this for very much longer. But yeah.
Thank you.
Yes.
I've noticed that Ghana or Goma has her hand raised. Is that how you pronounce your name?
Hi, it's actually Michelle O'Brien. Goma is what my
Oh,
grandson calls me.
oh, cute.
Okay. Well,
Um,
welcome, Michelle, and go and have your question.
Thank you so much. Sonia, I've had the pleasure of meeting you a couple of times. I'm in Orange County. We have a number of the same friends and allies. And so I just wanted to, oh, and before I move on, I heard you speak at Mariners Church the other night.
Oh, yeah.
And you were so passionate and so eloquent, and everything you said was so heartfelt. And I just wanted to say thank you for being there. It was a beautiful night to honor Charlie Kirk.
No,
So
thank you
thank
for that. That was probably one of the hardest speaking things when they asked me to do it. And I've never been to that church, and I didn't know but one person there. And then I found out Will was there, Will O'Neill. So, no, it was a blessing, a big honor, but also it's just, I don't know. I'm pretty sure you guys are in the same boat. It's just a roller coaster of emotions dealing with the tragedy that happened, and especially the difference that I've seen Charlie make in the young people's lives, including my own kids. It's just a huge loss. And I just pray to God. I know he's dancing in heaven, but I just pray to God these young kids are emboldened and they remember this and they use it for their drive to hopefully fight the good fight and fight for our beautiful nation, right?
absolutely. Um, and, and I have been praying and praying, and like many people, we ask God, what is your plan for me? What is your purpose for me? How do I know? And so then I hadn't heard anything. And a dear friend of mine called me today, and she had asked me if I saw the service yesterday on TV, which I did. It was unbelievably heartfelt. And she said, Turning Point USA has a faith chapter. And I said, yes. And she said, do you know that through that faith chapter, they also have a training on how to do what Charlie did? And I said, no. So I
Yeah.
said, all right, God sent you to tell me that this is where I need to go and learn to do what I need to do. So I
That's
digress.
awesome.
I'm so very excited that you're running for superintendent of public schools. We need you to lead California's education. Last year, I ran for school board here in Orange County, South Orange County, at Saddleback Valley Unified.
Oh,
There
wow.
were there were 3 seats up. I got 2 other dads to run along with me. It was fabulous.
Very-
And unfortunately, none of us 3 won. I was up against a 30-year incumbent, and I know there's no term limits. And of course, I think it was 4 or 5 different teachers unions funded her campaign. I knocked on over 7,000 doors. She never knocked on one. You know how this goes.
Yep.
um, so, being that I live in Orange County and I'm going to be helping other candidates within my area, I would love to help you and campaign for you as well. How can I connect with your team?
Yeah, so if that's a good question. If you go to shaw4ca.com, so shaw forca.com, you can send an email or a note in there to sign up for when we do need knockers and walkers. But you could send an email, and if you are walking for local elections, I have already sent palm cards out to other places that have elections, during this time. And they're helping, by just putting the door knocker with the other person's door knocker, so both of them at the same time. Even Natasha, the one that was taking over for Assemblyman Bilicelli, which he passed the baton to Natasha. We had all of them putting a flyer with my flyer on with her thing because we were hitting, targeted voters that way, and the name would get out, right? So if you do that, you send an email, you want palm cards, please tell me. I have boxes ready to go. I'm sure my husband would like to get some of them out of the garage. But we had a local fair in Northern Cal. I think it's happening this weekend, or it happened this past weekend. I got to check up with them. Maybe it's happening this coming weekend because he wanted them by the 23rd. Yeah. So it's happening this weekend. And I sent a nice little care package with, palm cards, business cards, things like that, so they can have them at the booth at their local family fair, too. So, I mean, any way that we can get that out, that would be amazing. And I don't mind mailing it. It costs me, I don't know, very little on the campaign
No,
to send
I
out.
just live over the toll road from you. I worked
Oh,
in
okay.
Chino and Chino Hills for 13 years.
Oh,
So
cool.
no, your drive, I can do that in my sleep.
Yeah, I mean, our Marietta board member, she had asked, if her husband's out this way, can I just leave some out so they could pick up more? And I'm like, heck yeah. I mean, my schedule's all over the place. Sometimes I'm lucky if I'm home. But we just been leaving them out and people picking them up. So I mean, whatever's good, I'm good with, and get them out, and it helps us as a whole anyways, right? So yeah.
Yes, we have to share our resources because we can't be everywhere.
Yeah, local, we can walk and knock. State, you're counting on all the groups to add us into the walking and knocking, right? Because as I meet with groups and chapters at different organizations, then hopefully the walkers will be encouraged to pass out the material.
Yes, and I belong to a number of conservative clubs here in Orange County,
Sure.
and so I would be happy to either have you come schedule for you to come in and speak, but maybe have 2 or 3 clubs come together at once. So because I know your time is very valuable, that way we can have a larger group, and we would get our marching orders that way.
That'd be cool.
Um, okay, your election is in June of 26.
Yeah, so just so you guys know, this is the only constitutional seat you can win in the primaries. Right now, we have 7 or 8 of them, complete insane people that all align themselves with the agenda that is destroying education, they all jumped into the race. If we get enough people on board to get to the polls in June of 2026, you can win this seat with the 50+1 while they all fight for who's going to be their top one. That is my goal, to win it there, because that's before the unions dump even more millions of dollars, right? Because then they'll dump more millions of dollars. I'm saying more because they're already putting money into some of these people. They'll dump more millions of dollars to make sure that their person gets in. Because I think since 1965, no one has had this seat that has had the best interest of kids and education focused. So for us, it's really important to get as many people on board and show them how important it is to show up to the 2026 June primaries. If we can win it there, oh my gosh, it would be a blessing. But as I travel California, my biggest encouragement is to hopefully encourage local people to run for their school board. Because regardless of me getting in or not, we're going to need more people in school board to become a wrecking force. You know, just like how parents were linking arms, we need more school board members all over the place.
I agree. Well, thank you so much. And yes, I'll go to your shaw4ca.com
Thank you.
and sign up and connect with your team. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other question anyone has? I would just like to ask if you see big changes already in your area from the death of Charlie Kirk. Are there more TPUSA chapters coming into the Chino Hills area?
So unfortunately in Chino Hills, so far, we only have our current chapter at Ayala High School. We have tons, I'm not going to even not exaggerate. We have tons of Christian clubs in each of our schools. And they're pretty high attendance. So we already have like at, say for my daughter's high school, I think there's 5 different Christian clubs in there. I'm hoping we get a turning point there. But I do know at the local community college not too far away that a lot of our Chino Hills kids go to, we have Dr. K. He is a board member also in Temecula, one of my battle partners. He is trying to get one started at that Mount Sac, and they've never had one. So these are encouraging things, because as much as I want them in our high school, you have to have a kid and you have to have an advisor bring it up. And it's always student led, you know, but then you have an adult who's willing to facilitate it. So I'm hoping more kids get encouraged to bring them up. I think because we do have so many Christian clubs that these kids are already in active clubs, but I'm hoping maybe eventually we'll get some turning points here locally besides the one high school. So, yeah. And then I don't know what else.
Let's see, Anetta has a question.
Yes.
Is that how you say your name?
Anita, thank you for asking.
Anita. Okay.
Sonia, thank you for your courage to step up and run for this position. I know that it's an uphill challenge, but we can always rely on the David and Goliath story. My question is similar to Michelle's, and that is, I live in Long Beach, but I share with some people, my home is here, but my heart is still in Orange County in many ways because I used to live there a long time. But I am building relationships here in the south part of LA County. For example, Yesterday I went to a vigil. It was part vigil, part monthly meeting of the Torrance Lomita Palos Verdes CRA, and the room was packed with people. They say 97% of human beings are just waiting to be told what to do. Do you want me on first or second base, coach? So I would like to offer my connection to introducing you to the leader of that group, because he has connections as far north as Thousand Oaks.
Okay.
And way far, because I've gone to several different meetings helping as a volunteer and end up meeting people from Hollywood to Palos Verdes and all around. And I think if we can connect with other people like Urson Russell for the voter thing, and whoever is the main leader of No on Prop 50, if we can help them now, then we can ask them. I don't want to say that there's strings attached and you scratch my back, but if we help them now, like with Prop 50, we've only got 5 weeks or or actually a few weeks before ballots are mailed on October 6th, if there's anybody available now to help with them now, and then say, okay, after Prop 6, Prop 50, saying no to Prop 50, then we
Yeah.
can help you.
Yeah,
And
no,
just
of course.
continue to help people. And I've met a lot of people by going to an event, a Trump train in California, in Central California last summer. I know a lot of people who came statewide to that we could reach out to those people to help you.
No, that'd be awesome. That's what we need to do. Yes, that would be great.
Okay.
I know Prop 50, it's not even about helping them. Really, we need to help ourselves with that one, because if they take that away, and the whole nation's in trouble, right? Because they would take seats and then eventually control who gets into
Right.
the seats. So,
See, they're not telling us that their end goal is not to make America great again, but it's to make America communist.
yep.
And if we
Exactly.
can come up with a creative way to explain that, there's one flyer, but on Node Prop 50, but I don't like it because it's all words and they say the human brain thinks in images. So I'm working with someone from the Palos Verdes, Torrance, and Lomita CRA to improve that handout so we can maximize our help.
Okay. Yeah, I know.
But I'll check. So your contact information is available on your website?
Yes, all of it there.
Okay. I'll follow up with you that way.
Yeah, that would be awesome, because you can send an email through there. You can sign up through there. I also have a store with this Protect Girl Sports, because one of the big things that I'm very passionate on, and I've been fighting for the last 5.5 years since I realized what Biden was trying to do with Title IX, is protect our girls in their sports and their locker rooms. Our district, alongside other districts, maybe 5 of them in California, joined the amicus brief in the Supreme Court for Title IX. So we're hoping to get some good results out of that. My shirts are on there, the Protect Girls Sports there, and it has the Shaw for Superintendent on the back, and it has a scanner code that goes to my website on the sleeve. The donation for $35 would get you the shirt. So if you guys can share that with anybody who likes to wear t-shirts, that would be great. Let's see. What else do I have? Trying to think of any other new updates that we have. I mean, a lot of it's just joining and linking arms with other lawsuits, right, that are happening. Unfortunately, it is very, very sad when I get messages on Instagram, which I'm not able to go to all the time. So it only breaks my heart to know what's on there. But of young girls just reaching out, like, me, Sophia, and Jessica have really been, and alongside Riley Gaines, but she's not in our state, but she's been helping us when we have these young girls to connect. She allows us to connect these young girls with her to give them the support that they need. And then eventually we gotten some of them and their parents connected to, do you guys know Bob Tyler? He runs the Advocates for Faith and Freedom, his nonprofit part of his firm to protect things like this, religious freedoms. We have, if you guys are prayer warriors on here, I would appreciate the prayers on. There's an injunction in the Ninth Circuit that does not allow school boards to do invocations. As little as it may sound to some people, it's a huge thing to not be able to pray before a board meeting. We challenge that. So we are actually, we have today our brief or whatever the rebuttal to the brief was due. So we're going back and forth because Freedom from Religion decided to harass the wrong people. So we hopefully can challenge that and get that out of the way. I mean, we have a lot of things that we're working on. It just takes a lot of time and effort and people to hopefully pay attention and come on board.
Okay, and I just thought of, I've been taking a lot of classes from Patriot Academy, one of them being biblical citizenship. And I just remembered at one of those classes, I met a representative of Turning Point, this is in Huntington Beach, that I could put you in touch with that person.
Yeah.
And because helping, first of all, we gotta win on no for Prop 50. And we
Yep.
also got to win on AB 495.
Yep.
And then we have to, give all focus to you and other candidates. We just need to be busy on a regular basis.
Yep.
So
No, I appreciate
I
that.
can contact that point of contact I have for Turning Point that I
Okay.
met a few weeks ago and see if that he could be the bridge for you to call upon youngsters in California who want to do something for Charlie, and they could
Yeah.
do it by helping you.
Let's do it. Beautiful.
We also have here in Sonoma County, we call them Young Adult Eagle Group. They're about 18 kids that have been meeting for the past 2 years in this home of Jennifer Gunderson. In fact, she's going to be our speaker for our webinar next month. And
Very
she's going to tell us about her plans and the things that she's doing with her young adult eagles. But they also linked on with a Turning Point chapter about a year ago. And so someone from Turning Point USA has been coming from Oakland to meet with them. And last April 5th for our state conference that was at the Doubletree Hotel in Roner Park, it was a joint effort of Turning Point USA and Eagle Forum. And they provided us with a wonderful speaker, and it was really a great event. There were about 60 young people there, as well as about 60 adults, and turned out to be a great experience. So Jennifer's going to be giving us information and
Okay.
some pointers on how we can get Young Adult Eagles group going, or Turning Point chapters. They're happy to work with it, whatever group is already formed, and help them to get motivated and do all the amazing things that Charlie Kirk was doing.
Very
Peter
cool.
has his hand up again. Go ahead, Peter.
Yes, the John Birch Society just had a meeting prior to this at 5 o'clock till about 7 on Blueprint for Liberty. It's on the Constitution and how it's been misused, and they're supporting nullification by states when the law is made as against the Constitution and it doesn't follow the enumerated what is allowed for the states to do or the governments to do. So they're about halfway through. They have several more Monday night webinars. So I recommend that to these listeners here if they're patriots and interested in detail and reading the Constitution and the Federalist Papers and getting the word out.
Very cool.
And how do you find out about those, Peter? Do you go to jbs.org?
Yeah, events. Yeah, jbs.org/events. And I think it will be listed there and then you can register. Monday nights, I think
Okay,
it's the next several Monday nights. It's 5 p.m. I think it's Pacific. Yeah,
great. Thanks for letting us know.
sure.
We had a representative from the JBS at our meeting with all sorts of great booklets and brochures and videos.
Very nice.
And like we've heard from Sonia, we need all sorts of conservative groups working together. There's strength in numbers,
Yes.
and when we're just one little souls trying to stand up and speak out for our liberty, doesn't
Yeah.
make much difference. But if we're a large number, they will hopefully pay attention to us. And I've also discovered that they really listen if young people are speaking out.
It's true.
So when we had a very active Teen Eagle group about 20 years ago, when I first got started with Eagle Forum, we had about 20 young people that would go to Sacramento at least once a month and would testify in hearings, and they would really show some respect and listen to these young people when they don't seem to pay any attention to older people, especially parents, which is very sad.
True. It's very true. Yes.
Any other questions anyone has? I did want to make one other comment about Prop 50. So 2 weeks ago, I was in Washington, D.C. for the National Eagle Forum conference that they have every other year. It's in Washington, D.C., and the in-between years it's in St. Louis. And this was a lobby time. For 2 days, we were lobbying our congressman. We would have meetings in the morning where congressmen would speak to us. And then the second day, we had the White House staff speak to us and answer all sorts of questions. But in the afternoon, we would go lobby our congressman. And did you know in the whole state of California, we only have 9 Republican congressmen to
Wow.
represent 33 million people? And if Prop 50 is passed, our congressional districts will be so gerrymandered that we'll only probably end up with 3 or 4 congressmen. That's exactly what they would like. They don't want any Republican representation. So we've got to get this Prop 50 to fail. So if you're not already planning to go out and be part of a team to spread literature and walk your precincts, I strongly advise that you do because we need all the help we can get from everyone. Well, it's now 10 after 8, and if there are no more questions or comments, do you have any parting words for us, Sonia?
Yeah, no, first of all, I want to thank a lot of you. It sounds like you've been in this fight for long before I have. So thank you for just staying in there and fighting the good fight. I pray every day that people just continue to give God their yes. And I love hearing the stories on how, you were asking, and then God opened the doors, and that's exactly what happens. Even looking back at my entire life, it's like, okay, well, in God's perfect timing, He will put us in the right place at the right time. And sometimes we don't understand why He's using what He did. But again, I'm very encouraged when I'm meeting people, especially like this group that are the doers. So just continue to grab the doers and ask God to give us more doers, because I really do believe we're in a moment of bringing more people to Jesus, right? I mean, that's really what it's about, but also saving our generation so they have the chance to see and meet Jesus, because these people are telling them obviously opposite. So that's pretty much what I would leave you with, is just continue to fight the good fight, linking arms together, groups upon groups. Again, like I love when I meet other parents and school board members, and now, I'm meeting groups of conservative groups all throughout California. I just really believe we have a moral obligation to get involved. And the more people that we tell that to, you'll get more people like myself 5.5 years ago that are making up for all the lost time, but we're definitely in the fight and we're not going anywhere.
Keep up the
That's
great
very
work.
true.
Sonia.
Thank you. It was good to
Let's-
see you, James. James is another one. He's all over the place fighting the good fight.
Let's do it for
We-
our kids, for Charlie, and our country.
Yes.
That's right. And I was so impressed at this memorial service yesterday to see how many members of Trump's cabinet were testifying of their belief in Jesus Christ and his atonement. And I was just blown away. My husband and I were crying listening to these beautiful testimonials.
Yeah.
And
Do you remember
would
the
you
one
find that?
by RFK Jr., his nephew, no, his niece was packing to travel to Europe to do a study abroad program. She packed a Bible, and they asked her why, and she says, I want to be more like Charlie.
It's
I
beautiful.
remember hearing that. That was really impressive, wasn't it?
Yep.
Well, my husband is from Germany, and he is so disgusted with the German parliament right now. They will not stand up for Charlie. They're saying that he was just part of an extreme right-wing group, which according to them, of course, are Nazis. That's
Yeah.
not true at all. And the European Union would not have a moment of silence for him. But the people are rising up all over. They're just loving Charlie. And you see groups in England and so many different nations around the world.
Yeah.
And what I loved about Charlie and his principles, he really was teaching young people how to have morals and stand strong for what they believe in.
Yeah.
And so many of them are just floundering because they have no one guiding them in the correct manner to teach them correct principles and morals. And so you understand why they're loving him and loving his teachings, and I'm sure they will love his wife now who will take over. But it's really been great to see that, and it's like a revival in our nation.
Yeah, I like
And
how
we need-
Charlie, like Erica said, Charlie had such a longing, his heart just ached to want to help lost boys in the West.
That's right.
And they said 65,000 applications. They now have 65,000 applications for Turning Point
Wow.
Chapel, which is good.
Isn't that
So we've
wonderful? I
got
have not
something to
heard
put
the
them to
latest
work
figures.
with.
Yep.
Yes, isn't that fantastic?
Mm-hmm.
That's
And
just
we can use
amazing.
them to help us. And I'm sure there's probably a Sonia Shaw in every state. I
Oh,
hope there is,
Every
sort
state.
of stepping up, as things just evolve naturally, that it's time for me to step up instead of sit on the sidelines. So I
Yep.
wonder if, there's need for these 65,000 applications in every state or every country.
Yep.
I believe
Yes,
this
I
is a
think there
turning
is.
point.
Yeah.
Yes. And I
Thank you,
think the young
Sonia.
people are sensing that. So we're really happy that we have had you with us, Sonia, and so grateful to have someone with your courage and strength. And hopefully you will inspire many other people. You look so young yourself. No one would even know you
I'm gonna hang out
have
with you
2
more.
daughters.
You're so cute. We're gonna become best friends. How about that?
Oh, good. Okay.
Yes, thank you. Very kind.
Anyway, is there someone who would like, well, how about Peter Kaiser? Would you give us a closing prayer?
Okay, let us pray. Lord, thank you for Sonia and her testimony. Thank you for her witness on helping people come closer to Jesus Christ. Thank you for all she's done in her local school boards and her local area. Give her favor in this election and her candidacy, and good donations and good workers, and going door to door, and maybe she could have your favor in taking that office and restoring God and family and Christian morals to the education in California. Help these unions to be defunded and not have any kind of mandatory dues or any dues going in at all, and help them not to be the most powerful union probably in the state and in the United States, and restore revival to this country through the sacrifice and martyrdom of Charlie Kirk, and be with his dear wife and family and his followers in Jesus' holy name. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Peter. That was a beautiful prayer. Thank you all for joining us. And remember, next month it will be Jennifer Gunderson telling us about her success working with young adult eagles and Turning Point. So
Yes.
we'll see what amazing things will happen in one more month with Turning Point USA. Thank you again, Sonia. Thank you for all of you for joining us.
Beautiful.
Thank
Well,
you. Good night.
night. Sweet dreams, everybody. See you
God bless
soon.
you.
God bless you all.